Imagine this. You've waited your whole life for the moment when everything finally feels right. A moment where you get to step out of a year filled with heartbreak into a day built entirely around love. But instead of feeling calm, instead of smiling at the altar like everyone expects, you're shaking. Tears are pouring down your face. Your chest is tight. Your mind is overwhelmed. And as guests whisper and your bride approaches, you can see it in her eyes. A split second of fear. A question she'll never say out loud. Is he crying because he doesn't want to marry me? What she doesn't know, what no one knows, is that you're crying because you finally made it through a year that nearly destroyed you. A year where your father died suddenly, leaving a hole so deep you couldn't breathe. A year where your best friend committed an unthinkable crime, murdering his wife, then ending his own life, leaving you with grief tangled in shock, guilt, and shame. You walked into your wedding carrying the emotional weight of 2 funerals, while trying to pretend everything was fine. But on this day, the only day meant to feel purely joyful, your body stopped pretending. This is the story of a groom who broke down at the altar. Not because he doubted his love, but because he had finally reached the first moment where he felt safe enough to feel everything he'd been holding inside. The engagement period should have been a season of joy. Planning the future, sharing excitement, imagining a life with the woman I loved. But almost immediately, everything went wrong. It started with a phone call that shattered my world. A sudden heart attack. No warnings. No last conversations. No chance to say I love you, or goodbye. I remember standing in my kitchen, holding my phone, feeling like the world had tilted off its axis. My father was supposed to stand beside me on my wedding day. He was supposed to help me get ready. He was supposed to be part of the happiest moment of my life. Instead, I became the one who had to call the wedding planner and say, "My father won't be in the photos anymore." Do you know how unnatural that sentence feels? How wrong it sounds in your mouth. My fiancée tried to support me, but I felt guilty grieving so deeply when all she wanted was to celebrate our upcoming marriage. And just when I thought I'd reached my emotional limit, something even more horrifying happened. My best friend, a man I trusted, laughed with, grew up with, murdered his wife, and then killed himself. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. It felt impossible, unreal, like someone had taken the world I knew and twisted it into a nightmare. But how do you grieve someone who committed such a horrific act? How do you explain to people that the friend you mourned also did something unforgivable? The shame of that confusion alone could suffocate someone. I was living 2 emotional lives. Keycap 1, the public version, smiling, planning wedding details, pretending to be excited. Keycap 2, the private version, grieving, lost, hollow, confused, ashamed to speak the truth. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want my fiancée to think I wasn't committed. I didn't want grief to be the shadow over our engagement. So I hid everything. And hiding it made it worse. I started feeling like I was robbing her of the joy she deserved. Like my sadness was poisoning a time meant to be beautiful. Like I was failing her even before we said, "I do." Every night I lay awake, trying to organize emotions that simply refused to fit anywhere. But time didn't slow down. The wedding came anyway. The morning of the wedding, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. Not because I doubted my marriage, but because I doubted myself. Could I hold it together? Could I finally give my fiancée the day she deserved? I tried. I truly tried. The moment I saw her during our first look, something inside me cracked. She looked beautiful, breathtaking, and for a second I felt calm. She was the reminder of why I survived the year. Why I kept going. But with that calm came a flood of everything I'd been suppressing. I felt the absence of my father like a physical weight. I remembered the horrifying phone call about my friend. I thought about every night I cried alone. And suddenly the emotions didn't fit inside me anymore. My throat tightened. My chest burned. My vision blurred. And before I knew it, I was sobbing. Harder than I have ever cried in my life. As she walked toward me, I tried to pull myself together. But the harder I fought it, the worse it became. I could see confusion and fear in her eyes. I could hear whispers in the audience. People asked later if I was okay. Some said they were worried for me. Some admitted they thought something terrible had happened at that exact moment. I felt exposed. Raw. Embarrassed. Ashamed. But I also felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. Because in that moment, I wasn't pretending anymore. I wasn't carrying the year alone. I wasn't hiding my pain behind forced smiles. My heart was breaking open. And for the first time, I let myself feel it. When it came time to say my vows, my voice shook. My hands shook. And when I looked into her eyes, I saw compassion, not fear. Understanding, not judgment. She squeezed my hands. And that one gesture felt like a lifeline. Like she was silently telling me, "You're safe. You're allowed to feel this. I'm here." And that was when I knew I didn't ruin the wedding. I was living it, truthfully, emotionally, vulnerably. After the wedding, when the music fell silent and the guests went home, the shame returned. Had I ruined her special day? Had I shifted the attention from our love to my grief? Had my emotions overshadowed the celebration? I apologized to her more than once. I admitted I felt embarrassed. That I felt like my breakdown made our wedding about sorrow instead of joy. But her response changed everything. She told me she didn't marry the version of me pretending to be okay. She married the real me. Even the broken parts. She said the moment I cried wasn't proof of weakness. It was proof that I survived pain that would have crushed many others. She didn't see someone ruining the wedding. She saw someone trying their hardest to heal. Someone who fought through the hardest year of his life to stand next to her. And that changed everything. I realized. My tears did not ruin the wedding. My vulnerability made it honest. Human. Real. It showed that love doesn't erase pain. But it can hold you steady as you walk through it. It showed that you can carry grief and still choose happiness. That you can be broken and still be loved. That a wedding is not about perfection. It's about the truth of two lives merging, even when one of them is hurting. And in the end, my breakdown didn't weaken our marriage. It strengthened it. Because I learned that love isn't about pretending. It's about allowing someone to see your most fragile moments. And still walking forward together.
Now I want to hear from you. Do you think his emotional breakdown ruined the wedding? Or did it make the moment more authentic, more human, more meaningful? Have you ever experienced grief during a time that was supposed to be joyful? How did you handle it? Do you think people are too harsh when men show emotion? Especially in moments when they're expected to be strong? Your comments can help someone who feels guilty for grieving during a milestone moment. Let's talk about it below. Because real stories deserve real conversations.